Hi, I'm Ems, aka On Deck on Wings, and in this video I will be putting together a sci-fi shack and painting it up. Please do like, comment and subscribe, it all helps my channel out. So the basis for this structure is something which I've 3D printed, and I like that it has some features to it, but it's blank enough where you could use it in any sci-fi or modern setting or post-apocalyptic thing that you wanted to. And you can print this as a full structure or in parts, and I'll put the link in the description below where you can get this. I printed mine up in parts and I scaled these up to about 30% bigger, so I could make sure they would be big enough to fit some things inside. Of course, I will be adding a lot of rust and weathering to this because it's Fallout and I really enjoy painting up weathering. So I hope you enjoy this video too and you can take some tips away from it. So let's get going. So I messily dry brushed some white over the top of this to create some texture, and this will create a good basis for when I add more paint over the top of it. So I've got all the panels here and these are all started. A couple of them have cracks in them. That's my own fault. I made the resin a bit too brittle when I was printing it, overexposed it. However, the panels themselves look pretty good and they're quite straight and solid, so, wins and losses. But those cracks are okay because they kind of add to that post-apocalyptic kind of setting. Anyway, I'm starting off with the flayed one flesh here from Citadel. This is like a very pale flesh colour. And my plan is to have like a utilitarian kind of feel and look to this building. Utilitarian is a style which is reminiscent of real life, and also you see it in a lot of sci-fi like Fallout, and it's this very plain kind of concrete structures and a lot of like clunky technology, and you see it in like a lot of 70s and 80s sci-fi like Alien. I'm personally a big fan of utilitarian and brutalist style architecture and buildings. I know it's not for everyone and it can seem a bit cold and minimalistic, but I think it can be really interesting. And it can be almost like science fiction looking, and it looks strong and sturdy compared to these like glass buildings we see all the time now in modern architecture. So back to the task at hand. Yes, I do like to waffle about things that I like. So I'm adding paint here and I'm sort of dry brushing this on. It's more in an impasto kind of style. Impasto is one of my favourite styles of painting. It's where you add a lot of paint and brush marks and are very expressive with it, and it can be quite fun and you don't have to worry about being overly neat. It's all about, emotion expression. I guess it's less so in terms of, painting up this terrain, but you get what I mean. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving some of the paint thicker in some of the areas and then thinner in other areas. So it creates this kind of look of like artificial weathering. You know how like paint fades over time? That's kind of the look I'm going for. I go on about this quite a bit, but I really do enjoy painting up terrain and would always encourage others to do so as well. I find it really relaxing, a bit more freeing than painting up smaller models where you have to be a bit more precise with those. Obviously, if you don't have a 3D printer or can't afford big terrain kits, I will be doing some more videos showing you how to make your own terrain and actually make it look good. So here are the first layers of paint done, and I've got this look of weathering already. Next up, I've got some dark star molten metal copper, and I'm just picking out some bits here. I went with the copper because I think it would stand out a lot more compared to a silver. And I'm just picking out some of the panels and the doors and the windows. This copper is definitely in like my top 10 paints, and I use it quite a lot. It stands out really nicely and covers super well. And this is another thing I always say, but dark star molten metals do my absolute favourite true metallic paints, and I definitely recommend you get some of them. So that's the copper parts done, and these panels are coming together now. We've got some nice weathering going on and some contrast with that copper. So I just wanted to add some additional details, and you might not be able to see it too well on the camera, but I've just cut up some plastic there to simulate broken windows. And I've also got some coffee stirrers, and I'm going to cut these up and make them look like some wooden slats over the windows. So here it is, and I've skipped ahead. I made these so they look like they were put together in a hurry, which is pretty much what happened anyway. I used a pro acrylic light umber on them, So let's add some additional grime. I've got Wild Contrast Paint from Citadel. I use this quite a lot, and it's great for adding recesses and for doing rust and things like that. So I'm just dipping it in, adding some water, and just wiping this all over. I like using this over an Agrax wash. I think it has more depth to it and it stands out better. And I like using contrast paints anyway in general as washes and glazes. And I've just got a wet wipe here and I'm just wiping away some of the excess to create some more contrast with the colour. As you can see, I've wiped away the excess here on all of the panels. And then I forgot to do this step first, so I have a bunch of posters which I've printed out. And these are all from the Fallout universe. These will be in the link in the description below if I can remember where they are on my Google Drive. Otherwise, I will put in the link in the description below the Discord for Fallout miniatures, as there are a bunch of resources on there and you can ask people and they make their own sort of posters and things like that. So I've added a bunch of these all around the different parts. I've gone with a lot of the workman site ones because this looks like some sort of work shack. And I think these look really cool. So you've got the corporate espionage ones, you've got the democracy ones, and you've got some of like the danger caution ones, Nuka-Cola, some more workplace ones. It just adds a lot of more interest and character and makes it like your characters are in the Fallout universe. And I've also got some of the Roboco ones and just a bunch of other ones as well. So we've got the Red Scare ones as well, which you usually see in the workplaces in Fallout. And I have a little Easter egg New Vegas one there as well. Just a tip I have, so I've added some of that wash here, and what I'm doing is I've got a wet wipe and I'm wiping it over the poster, and that water will create some water damage onto the poster and make it look more faded, and you can let these dry and then you could always like varnish over the top of them as well. So this just adds to a bit more of the realism, and it looks like it's already been stuck on the wall for a very long time. And that's what it's all about, the little details and creating these worlds and universes. Here they are all finished off. Like I said, I should have put these down first before I washed the rest of the structure with that wash, but it doesn't matter too much. I think they look great, they look faded, and they add a lot of character to these panels. And like I said, these are a great blank canvas because you can put any posters from any universes on here if you wanted to. My friend Carl, or Underhive Art, makes a bunch of cool Warhammer and Necromunda themed posters. These are all scaled for miniatures, and these are free. And I'll put these in the link in the description below, and he does a lot of cool original artwork as well. Moving on to the last part of the structure, which is the floor panel. So what I've done is I've taken up part of the floor, and I put some texture paste there to add some more weathering. And then what I've done is I've mapped out a checker pattern with a pencil, and I'm going to be following this roughly. I've got some rubber black here from AK Interactive. I'm following that pattern I've created, and I'm just going to skip ahead here so we don't get too bored. And I've mapped out the pattern now. I think it looks pretty cool. And what I'm going to do is now I have some Incubi Darkness from Citadel, and I'm going around the black parts. This might not pick up too much on camera, but this is just to create some like mouldy kind of weathering look to the black parts. Then I'm just going to add some weathering with a sepia tone to create some like grease and grime. And then I've got a Vallejo oxide wash, and I'm pretty much doing the same here. As you probably know, I like adding rust and grime to things, and I think it just adds a lot of interesting bits, and it just makes it more visually interesting. So the structure is finished now, but I decided not to glue it all together. I put it into separate parts, and the roof separate. And I think this is a lot easier for putting things inside, but you could also create some cool photographs, like some dioramas and backdrops as well. And then I also have the roof on top as well. And again, I just wanted that to be detachable, so you can see inside and take some photographs inside with some miniatures. And you might notice the computer screen at the front from the Fallout game. So if you watch my previous video, I 3D printed a load of little scattered terrain pieces. The video where I painted these up is on my channel, but I'll put the link in the description below where you can get to that. And these are a mix of official Fallout files and some random post-apocalyptic things I found on the internet. And these are very cool and add a lot of character and in-game realism. And this is the screen in question, which I stuck to the front of the structure. I've put some of those scatter pieces inside of here. I've not glued them down permanently, as I can take them out then and use them for other things. But they just add a bunch of character and make this look so cool, and like something out of the Fallout universe where you just happen upon a structure. And I've also got my Lucy miniature there from the game, and there's just a bunch of detail on this, and I really enjoyed painting this up and adding some detail to it. Thank you for watching. If you would like to support me or donate, all the links will be in the description below, as well as my social media. I'm very active over on Instagram. Remember to enjoy your hobbies for yourself, respect the people who enjoy them in their own ways, and at the end of the day, they're just Wardollies. I'll see you in the next one.